What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football. Houston Texans football. But we're really here to talk free agency. And we're really here to talk cornerbacks that's hitting the free agent market. If I'm not mistaken, March 16th, so in about 12 days, these are the guys about to hit the market. I know I did a video the other day talking about the Houston Texans having strong interest in Chris Harris. And I know a lot of y'all like that video. But I want to talk about the rest of the guys on the market. The reason why is because I know y'all like that combination I brought up of Chris Harris and Trey Waynes. But I think of a cornerback tandem that's even better than that, because that's not even my number one target. That's not even my number one option. I'm going to explain why in the middle of this video. I want to talk about these other guys that's hitting the market and some better options even out there, better than that Chris Harris, Trey Waynes combination I talked about last time. So I'm going to talk about these guys, and I want to talk about the first corner, the number one corner on the market, and that is Dallas Cowboy Byron Jones. He's a stud. He's an absolute number one corner, shutdown corner, lockdown corner. One of the guys, he runs a 4-3-5, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a speedy guy. He can cover fast receivers, like how I was talking about. That's something that you're going to need in this NFL with the guys running the 4 times that was running this past combine. The guys that's in the NFL right now, like the Tyreek Hills and the Will Fullers and things like that, Kenny Stills, like these type of fast receivers out here in the NFL, you need to have a fast corner. And he's a first team All-Pro, just a complete shutdown corner. The knock on him, it's two things that's troubling about Byron Jones. One's a knock, and one is not really a knock, but just something that you have to deal with. The knock is that he's been in the league for 5 years. He has 2 career interceptions. He doesn't turn the ball over. He had an interception in 2017 and an interception in 2016. He hasn't got one in the last 2 years. So for 5 seasons, he only has 2 career interceptions. That's troubling. And the other thing that you might want to steer away from is that he's going to command a huge tag, because since he's the number one corner on the market, he's going to ask for number one money. And the highest paid corner right now is Xavier Rhodes, getting $15.1 million per year. So you're talking about at the floor being 15.5, and I think that's just a starting point. You're looking at probably between 16 and 17 million per year that you're going to be paying for him. And for a guy who's not turned the ball over, that's too rich for me, especially in the situation for the Texans. Like I said last time, you gotta come away with, it's an epic failure for agency if you don't come away with multiple corners. You have to come away with multiple corners in this free agency class. Like there's if you don't do that, it's an epic failure. Even though the talent of Byron Jones I don't like the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over. And the other thing I don't like is that we have to pay him that much money. And if you give him 16.5, 17 million per year, it's a no-go that you're not going to be able to re-sign nobody else, especially talking about paying Tunsil. Tunsil's asking for 19. You're talking about giving Deshaun a contract extension, things like that. So you won't be able to bring in somebody else, because you still got to sign the draft picks that you do have. So you still have to have some money on the books. So I just think that's a no-go if you're talking about paying the guy almost 17 million. But he is the number one corner I want to talk about. Now, this is the corner that I have my eye on. This is the guy, this is my personal number one target that the Texans should go after. And it is James Bradberry, cornerback out of the Carolina Panthers. The reason why is because he is definitely, just like Byron Jones, absolute shut-down corner. The guy's been in the league since 2016. Do you know that he averages double-digit pass breakups every year? In 16, 10 breakups. 17, 10 breakups. 18, 15 breakups. Last year, 20 breakups. He's a guy who's out there, definitely out there batting out the ball. And he's a sure tackler. If you don't believe me, go watch the game versus him and Hop. One thing that I like, he followed Hop wherever Hop went. Hop was on the outside on the left, he was right there. Hop was on the outside on the right, he was right there too. Hop went inside in the slot, he followed Hop inside. He traveled Hop wherever he went. And remember, in my personal opinion, I think that the Carolina Panther game was Deshaun Watson's worst game. Part of the reason why is because of this dude. And one thing that really sold me on his tackling, like I said, because that might be his best attribute, is his tackling. He's a sure tackler. It was a play that Hop got him. Hop caught the ball. Hop did a little move to him and kind of broke him a little bit, kind of broke his ankles. But he reached out his hand and grabbed Hop. Hop couldn't move no more. He grabbed Hop with one hand. Hop do like this. Hop is trying to move. Hop can't move. And he able to gather themselves and slam Hop to the ground. I'm like, okay. Once he gets you in this grasp, it's over. He has good hands. He has good techniques. Bad thing about him is he's not world beating fast. I think he ran a 4.47, which is good. It was decent, but he's not. I mean, he's not one of the faster type of corners. So like he's not like Byron Jones or Trey Waynes and things like that, who guys are running 4.35s and 4.31s and things like that. But yeah, like he's serviceable, and like I said, he can shut down the number one receiver. And the best thing about that is that if you add a guy like him, now Garyon Conley can stay guarding number two receivers, and that's something that's lost in the shuffle about this cornerback. What we do, because I know people want to go after Chris Harris, and I get that. I'm cool with that, but Chris Harris is going to be guarding the slot, so depending on what your other corner is, Garyon Conley more likely to have to follow the number one receiver if the number one receiver plays on the outside. With James Bradbury, you don't have to worry about that. And another thing about Garyon Conley, do you not realize that last year he had 13 pass breakups? I didn't realize he had that many. He had 11 with the Texans and only played 8 games. He only played 8 games with the Texans and had 11. In his second year in the league, he had 15 pass breakups. His first year, he didn't have none, but he only played, I think, 1 or 2 games his rookie year. But his second year, he had 15. And in his third year, which was last year, he had 13 for the season, 11 with the Texans, and that was only 8 games. 8 pass breakups in 11 games. 11 pass breakups in 8 games. So he got more than he averaged over a pass breakup a game. You take that and combine that with James Bradbury, a guy who's for his career consistently, because Byron Jones, Chris Harris, all these other corners, I've been looking at their numbers. They not consistently double digits. They might have a high 17 pass breakers one year, but the next year only have 5. Now I know a lot of that is doing with guys not going toward quarterbacks, not throwing in their direction every single game because I know this is a legitimate corner. I'm not going to throw his direction, but still. This guy's getting double-digit pass breakups, and they're still throwing to him, which means he's still doing his job. He's still ending plays and not allowing the receiver to catch a play every single game. That's what I'm talking about. So if you compare both of those two guys, you combine James Bradbury and Garyon Conley, it's a no-fly zone for real. That whole no-fly zone that Wichita used to do back in the day for the Texans. When people would drop, that was one of my frustrations about the corners back in the day, is that we didn't have real legitimate pass breakups. Receivers would drop passes and they'll walk up like this, like no fly zone when they didn't really do nothing. These guys right here actually break up passes. These guys actually have a reason to go and flex and do the no pass zone, the no fly zone. I would bring him in. Now his price tag is not going to be as high as Byron Jones, but it's gonna be higher than possibly Chris Harris, because I think he's 20. Well, he's 27. He'll be 20. He'll be 27 when the season starts. So it means if you sign him, by the time the contract ends, he'll be what Chris Harris is right now, 31. So you have him and Garyon Conley. You have 2 young hogs for the next 4 years. That's what Jacksonville did. That's part of the reason why Jacksonville was so good. You had a shutdown corner in Jalen Ramsey on your number 1, and then you had a legitimate number 2 corner who could guard any number 2, because, truth be told, if it had to be, he can guard number 1. He can hold his own. So if he can hold his own against the number 1, what you think he's going to do against the number 2? Especially when guys are loading up on receivers in today's NFL. So you got a guy who can hold his own on number 1s. We're going to place him over here with number 2s because we got even more shutdown corner going to number 1s. That you right there, you completely amp up your secondary. Now you're going to need some in the slot, and I'm going to get into that in a little minute about what you should do at slot corner. But James Bradbury tag probably will, from what I'm hearing, I'm saying that he's looking for 15. I think you could probably get him for 14.5. But I'm willing to pay him 15.5. I'm not, because he's not getting into Byron Jones territory. He hasn't had any accolades, no All Pros, no Pro Bowls, nothing like that. So he's been quiet. He's been quiet as kept. But I think this could be a situation, like I said before, about what Rick Smith did back in 2011. Instead of going after Nnamdi, went and brought Jonathan Joseph and Glover Quinn. I think this is the kind of same situation with James Bradbury. He's going to be a little bit cheaper. And I think that if you do that, I think you can actually have one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL in the next couple of years. I firmly believe that. Now, the third corner on my list is a guy I already talked about, and that's Chris Harris. And like I already talked about in the last video, he's a all former All Pro, Super Bowl champion. At one point on that Super Bowl team, he was the best corner on the team. Guy who's going to cover the slot, and he can shut down the slot. But with him, you're gonna have to add a fast corner like a Trey Waynes, which is the next guy on my list. And like I said, I already talked about the combination of Chris Harris, Garyon Conley, and then Trey Waynes. And I think this is the more likely scenario for the Texans because it's the cheaper route. Because you could pay 12. Because right now Chris Harris is getting 12. He's getting a little over 12, but under 12.1. So if you give him 12.1, you give him a bump in salary. Just if you give him 12.1, you give him a bump in salary, and he's playing on the contending team. So I think that you can get that done. Then you could probably get Trey Waynes probably around the 8 range. So you're spending $20 million on 2 corners. I think that's probably the more likely scenario. So you're damn near paying, for lack of better words, you're basically giving both guys $10 million a year. Because you're paying $20 million for 2. You were giving $10 million to Roby last year. So you're giving $10 million to Chris Harris and $10 million to Trey Waynes. Not really, because you're really giving 112 and 1.8, but that's how the math works out. You're spending $20 million. You could possibly spend between $19 and $20 million for these 2 corners. And I think that's probably the situation that the Texans, cap-wise, most fits in because of they're trying to get Tunsil done. They're trying to get Deshaun done. So since they're trying to get these other guys done, that's probably the range that they live in. But like I said, I'm leaning more towards the James Bradberry. And the reason why is because of, like I said, the combination of him and Garyon Conley. But then if you do that, you're going to have to worry about the slot. And you're going to have to go after guys like Kendall Fuller out of Kansas City, Mackenzie Alexander out of Minnesota, or even Brian Poole out of the New York Jets to cover the slot. And it really depends which guy you target that way, depends on how much you end up giving James Bradberry. Because, say for instance, if you can get him for 14 and a half, then you could probably go the Kendall Fuller route. I think Kendall Fuller probably, especially coming off a Super Bowl championship, and he actually played well in the Super Bowl. And he's out of those 3 guys, he's the faster of the guy. And also the name, because his brother Kyle Fuller out there in Chicago, that little name hold a little weight as well. He's probably going to be a little bit more pricey. And I like that combination just because of the speed factor, because he's the faster of the 3. But the one I really like, in my opinion, would be bringing in Mackenzie Alexander from Minnesota. I think he would be better fit for the type of lockdown corners. He's a better fit for the style of cornerbacks I want to play. But the problem with that, he's the slowest of the 3 of the 3 slot guys that I just mentioned. Him, Brian Poole, and Kendall Fuller. He's the slowest of them. But I do think that he's probably the better corner. I think he's the better slot corner. So in this type of scenario, you're gonna, something I've been harping about, speed. We gotta worry about speed. You got speed over here. You got all the speed coming in the field. Kansas City, Hollywood Brown, and Baltimore and things like that. But I can't get over the way I think these cornerbacks can shut down. I just really think if you bring these guys in, it's going to be lockdown city out there in Houston. I firmly believe that these corners are going to be some shutdown corners if you bring in James Bradberry, Garyon Conley, and Mackenzie Alexander. Like, I think that's the winning combination for me. Yes, you're not going to have the speed to cover receivers like you would if you had Trey Waynes to cover the outside and you had Chris Harris, the veteran stuff of Chris Harris, the guard the slot. And I know a lot of people, y'all like Chris Harris. Chris Harris is a big, huge name, and I get that. Super Bowl champion, I understand that. And like I said, I am not opposed to it. I'm happy if I get the notification that they signed Chris Harris and they signed they signed Chris Harris, and then they also go out there and sign side Trey Waynes. I'm completely happy with that. That is a winning formula. I think you can win with that. The only problem with that is that when you do that, you put Garyon Conley in a worse situation because now he definitely is going to more likely guard number 1 receivers. But if you flip it and they tell me that we signed James Bradberry, oh, he's the number 1 corner. And now I know for a fact I have a legitimate number 2 who's going to lock down some number 2 receivers. Because he can hold his own against number 1s, he's going to be able to lock down number 2s. I know James Bradbury is going to lock down number ones. And then you tell me you bring in Mackenzie Alexander. And, hey, Clemson guy. Y'all love them Clemson guys. Houston loves them. Bill O'Brien. All Texan fans, y'all love them. Tiger Texan fan, y'all love them Clemson guys. And I think he's the better out of the three slots. I think he's the out of him, Brian Poole, and Kendall Fuller. I think he's the better corner. I think he's the more legitimate corner. He might have been one of because Minnesota had a solid defense, and we already know that Xavier Rhodes had a down year last year. Well, had a good year. Mackenzie Alexander played extremely well in that defense. So I think that that is the winning combination. I think it's going to be hard to throw the football around against those guys. Because to be honest, they're going to have to beat us over the top. And the way that these guys, all these guys break on passes, when you got somebody like Justin Reed back, that's the person who's going to benefit the most. With those two signings, the two people going to benefit the most is Justin Reed and also Gary Conley. I just mentioned Gary Conley because his assignments are going to stay the same and actually get even easier. But Justin Reed, what happens when passes get broken up? Those are tip balls flying all over. Who's the ball hawk on this team? Who's the guy that we say week in and week out always makes game-changing plays? And if it wasn't for this if it wasn't for this guy out here, you might have lost that game. Even though we talk about Deshaun, but we talking about from a defensive standpoint. Who's the guy who always make game-saving or game-changing plays? It's Justin Reed. So now you telling me that now Justin Reed gets to sit back and watch these guys out there lock people down, and when the balls get thrown up in the air, they batting it down, they twisting it, they flipping it. Boom, pick right here. Pick right there. Because we already know that he has a knack for the ball. He has a nose for the ball. He knows where the ball is at all times. Because he makes plays that we think about like, whoa. Now you're going to make his assignment even more easier. And I think with this type of moves that could be made, you're talking about a lockdown defense. You're talking about a shutdown secondary. You're talking about one of the top You're talking about one of the top secondaries in the league, in my personal opinion. I think you will be able to create via free agency, which is something that Denver did. Denver created a shutdown cornerback situation, even though Chris Harris was undrafted, but they brought in some guys. Same thing with the Patriots back in when they brought in Brown and they brought in Darrelle Revis. Went out there and paid the guys. The Rams last year going out there and trades. So it's the same situation. You trade this guy, you bring in two guys, you sign Lyon Johnson, you let Lyon Johnson grow up, you drafted Justin Reed. Now you can create a cornerback tandem and you can create a legitimate secondary. And I think you could probably get these guys for around, I think that'd be a little bit more pricey. So you're talking about maybe spending between 20 and 21 million, depending on what you get Bradbury for. Depending if you get Bradbury for 14.5 to 15.5. Because that's the area you're looking at, between 14.5, 15.5, anywhere between 14.5 per year or 15.5 per year. That's the area that I think James Bradbury is going to live in, and depending on that is what you can do with the other corners. I think Brian Poole will be the cheaper of the slots. I think you could probably get Brian Poole for about $4 million, but I think you can get Mackenzie Alexander for probably about $5, maybe $5.5. So if you get him for $5.5 and get James Bradbury for $15.5, that's when you're looking at the 21. But then, if you're able to get James Bradbury for a little bit cheaper, or be able to get Mackenzie Alexander for a little bit cheaper, you could be living around maybe 19.5, $20 million per year. But it's going to get you around probably 20 to 21 million per year to get those two guys. But I think that's the cornerback tandem, in my personal opinion, that you should bring in. You should go after James Bradbury, number one, and then go out there to get his running mate in the slot, and Mackenzie Alexander, and you already got Gary Conley. I know Byron Jones is the best. Byron Jones is the best corner in the draft, and he should get paid as the best corner in the draft. But that price tag is going to be too high. I'm completely cool with bringing in Chris Harris. I'm the one that named it. I'm completely cool with bringing in Chris Harris and also bringing in Trey Waynes. I think that's a cheap option. But the problem with that is Chris Harris is 31. When you're talking about James Bradbury, you're bringing in a 27-year-old. Mackenzie Alexander, same thing. You're bringing in a 26-year-old. Guy who played with Deshaun at Clemson the year they lost to Alabama. Deshaun, call up your boy. Like, hey, bro, come down here. We didn't get it done when you was there. I got it done the year after you. We didn't get it done while you was on the field. Let's get it done in Houston. They thank you. You're welcome. That's your cornerback team. That's your DB room right there. James Bradbury, Garyon Conley, Mackenzie Alexander, Justin Reed, Gibson. There you go. You welcome. That's if we walk in every Sunday with that tandem in the DBs. If we walk in every game with those DBs, I have no concerns when Deshaun gets us a lead in the fourth quarter. If we're gonna give that up, I no longer have a fear like this lead ain't safe. Oh, see, I told you what Drew Brees is gonna do. Told you what Nick Foles is gonna do. Told you what Brady was gonna do. Told you what Lamar Jackson gonna do. Told you what Mahomes gonna do. Jameis Winston almost did it. If Jameis Winston turned the ball over, Jameis Winston would have did it to us. You have to fix the DBs. And this is the year. Of any year, this might be the best year to do it. You gotta go for it. You gotta go for it. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. Click the bell, give me a video. Tell me what y'all think. I'll be real. Let me know what y'all think. Give me y'all combination of these guys. Byron Jones, Chris Harris, Brian Poole, Kendall Fuller, Mackenzie Alexander, James Bradbury. Y'all give me y'all opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these cornerbacks. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. If you haven't clicked that bell, get more videos. I holla.